In this video, we are going to be studying Introduction to Anatomy, and here we have the outline of what we'll be discussing: definition, methods of study, systems, and region. So starting with the definition, anatomy is the study of the structure of tissues and organs that make up the body. Now for this playlist, we're going to be limiting anatomy to the study of the human body. Okay, now anatomy is sometimes combined or studied alongside with physiology, but physiology deals with the function of the structures that make up the body. Okay, now let's move on to the methods of study. How is anatomy being studied? Now there are various ways in which anatomy is studied, but for this video we're going to be focusing on the use of microscope. Okay, the use of the unaided eye, and a subdivision of the use of the unaided eye would be the invasive method. Okay, so we have the invasive method or invasive procedure. Now the use of microscope comes mainly in histology. Histology is the study of tissues that make up the body, and tissues are made up of cells, and most of the cells of the human body and cells in general are microscopic. Okay, they cannot be seen with the naked eyes, they cannot be seen with the unaided eyes, so we need to make use of a microscope. Histology is also known as microanatomy because it studies these microscopic parts of the body. Then we have the use of the unaided eye. The use of the unaided eye is mainly employed in gross anatomy. Okay, now gross anatomy is also sometimes referred to as macroanatomy, and in this subdivision of anatomy we study parts of the body that can be seen with your unaided eyes. Okay, so they are big enough to be seen physically. So taking a look at the invasive method, which is a subdivision of the use of the unaided eye, the invasive method basically has to do with the use of punctures and incisions. Okay, incision is simply a fancy word for cut. So the invasive method has to do with the use of punctures and incisions in order to see through to internal organs of the body, and it is majorly employed when dissecting cadavers. Okay, now let's take a look at the systems as well as the regions of the body. Now generally in anatomy, organs are not studied in isolation. Okay, so they are studied as part of the system of which they are members of. Now system, or the body system, is made up of organs that perform similar function and to carry out a particular task in the body. And in anatomy, the body is divided into various systems. For this video, we'll be considering about 9 systems of the body, and the first one we'll be taking a look at is the integumentary system. Now, the main organ in the integumentary system is the skin. Okay, and we know the skin to be the biggest organ or the largest organ of the body. Okay, now the skin is also known as the integument. And integument is a fancy word for covering. So the integument is an outer protective covering. Also, the nails and hair also form part of the integumentary system. Next, we'll be taking a look at the musculoskeletal system. Okay, now the musculoskeletal system is the system of the body that provides a structural framework. It supports the body in general, and it's made of the bones and the muscles of the body. Not just the bones and the muscles, but also tendons and ligaments and so on. So tendons help in attaching muscles to bones, and ligaments help to keep joints in place by holding the bones together. Okay, so this is the musculoskeletal system. Next, we have the nervous system. Okay, the nervous system is the control center of the body. Here we have the brain, spinal cord, and the nerves that innervate different parts of the body. Okay, then we have the cardiovascular system. Anytime we hear the word cardio, it deals with the heart, and so the cardiovascular system is the part of the body, or rather it's the system, okay, that sends, it's basically responsible for circulation, okay, circulation of different materials, and these materials are conveyed through the blood in blood vessels. Okay, the organs that make, the heart is the main organ in the cardiovascular system, and we also have blood vessels as members of this system. Next, we have the respiratory system. The respiratory system is made of airways and the lungs, okay, and this system is responsible for ventilation and respiration. Ventilation is a fancy word for breathing, so breathing in and out. Next system we'll be considering in this video is the lymphatic system. The lymphatic system is made of lymphatic nodes and lymphatic vessels, and this system is responsible for filtering fluids from tissues and taking them back into the bloodstream. Okay, so it filters fluids from tissues. The next system we'll be considering is the immune system. So immunity has to do with the ability of the body to resist diseases, okay? So the immune system is responsible for this resistance, and it's made of white blood cells and proteins that help to fight against pathogens, and these pathogens could be viruses, they could be bacteria, and so on. Next system we'll be considering is the digestive system. Okay, so when we ingest food in the form of macromolecules, the body cannot make use of those food substances as they are in such complex forms, and so the digestive system is responsible for breaking down these macromolecules that we ingest into smaller monomers and smaller subunits that the body can make use of and that the body can absorb. Okay, so in the digestive system we have the digestive tract and other accessory organs, okay, like the liver and the pancreas that help in breaking down food. Then we have the urinary system. The main organs in the urinary system is the kidney. Okay, so the kidney is the main organ here in the urinary system. However, we also have the ureter, the urethra, the bladder, and other organs and structures. So this system basically filters blood, taking away waste products, metabolic waste, and excreting it out of the body. And the last system we'd be considering for this video is the endocrine system. Okay, the endocrine system is made of special organs that are called glands. These organs are capable of secreting hormones into the bloodstream, and these hormones are then sent to target organs to effect a particular change or to bring about a particular process, as the case may be. Now let's take a look at the regions into which the body is divided. Now in anatomy, the body is divided into regions, and organs that fall into a particular region are classified into that region because they occur in close proximity to one another. And for this video, we'll be considering about 5 to 6 regions of the body. And the first region we'll be considering is the thorax. Okay, now the thorax is what we typically call the chest, and the thorax is made of the thoracic cage and the thoracic cavity. Okay, so we have the cage and we have the cavity. Now, the thoracic cage is made of the ribs and other associated bones like the sternum and so on. And the cavity is simply the space that is enclosed by this cage, and there we have organs like the heart, the lungs, and so on. Now let's take a look at the abdomen. Now the abdomen is another region of the body and is what we typically call the belly. The abdomen is made of or composed of the abdominal wall. So we have an abdominal wall and we have the abdominal cavity. Now the abdominal wall is made of supporting muscular tissues and other supporting tissues, okay, and it's separated from the thoracic region by the diaphragm. Now the diaphragm is a dome-shaped muscle that separates the thoracic cavity or the thoracic region from the abdominal region. In the abdominal regions we have the stomach, the liver, kidney, and some other structures. Next region would be considering is the pelvis. Okay, now the pelvis is the region of the body that is between the hip bone. Okay, so in the pelvis region we have the urinary bladder and internal sex organs, and we also have the distal end of the digestive tract forming part of the pelvic cavity, enclosed within the pelvic cavity. Also closely related to the pelvis is the perineum. Okay, now the perineum is the region that is located between the thigh, and the pelvis is more of a cavity, while the pelvis, or rather the perineum, is more of a region. Okay, so it's basically the region between the external genitalia and the anus. Okay, so here we have an image that shows the pelvic region or the pelvis as well as the perineum. So the pelvis is the region, the cavity that is located between the hip bone. So the hip bone, something like this. Here we have the hip bone. This diagram is just outlining the region of the hip bone. And so within this area of the hip bone, what we have is the pelvis, okay? And just below the pelvis, we have the perineum, okay? So the perineum is the area that is between the thigh, okay? So this area is the perineum. The external genitalia and the anus, the region of the external genitalia and the anus form the perineum, while here in the pelvis we have the cavity between the hip bones. Okay, so here. Now we can also see that we have a pelvic diaphragm that divides and separates the pelvic cavity from the perineum. Okay, so there we have it. The next region of the body we'd be considering is the head. The head is the most superior part of the body, and here we have the skull and all the structures that make up the face. We also have the ears, the mouth, the nose, and a lot of other structures. And next is the neck. Okay, the neck, which is just below the head. Okay, now the neck appears to be a simple structure, but actually the neck is complex and it's made of a lot of muscles, blood vessels, and nerves, bones, and so on. Okay, now the next two structures we'll be considering, which are not very closely, but are closely related. We have the upper limb, which is also known as the upper extremity. Okay, the upper extremity is made of the shoulder, the arm, the forearm, and the hands, and so on. Okay, and then we have lastly the lower extremity, which is also known as the lower limb. Okay, so here we have the legs, the toes, and all of those other structures. Okay, now we have come to the end of this video. This video is a very brief introduction into anatomy, as rather with regards to the systems and structures that make up the body. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching till the end. Bye.